Hello and a very warm welcome to this episode of the Nditha Mindset Show with me, Irene Pato. This is episode number 18, and so if you've not caught any of the other shows that I've done previously, I would encourage you to go back and to catch them because they're packed with value. Remember that the Nditha Mindset Show is all about personal development, mindset change, self-motivation, and helping you to become the best version of yourself. And we strive to bring you conversations with people that have made headway in their own lives, in the hope that by you hearing their stories, you will be inspired and motivated to be, do, and have more in your own life. And that said, from Nditha Mindset, all our thoughts and prayers are with those that have been impacted by the just ended devastating Cyclone Freddy, and may the souls of the departed rest in eternal peace. And welcome to this week's episode of the Nditha Mindset Show, and I'm so excited to introduce to you my guest for this week. We are talking all things transcending the career barriers, and I am so excited to introduce to you my guest. I can't wait for her to join us on this conversation. I know that her story is powerful. I know that her journey is amazing and it's incredible, and I believe that it's going to inspire you to be more and to believe in the beauty of your own dreams. Today on the show, I'm talking to Mrs. Esnat Suleiman. She is the head of Treasury and Investment Banking at FDH Bank PLC. We are going to hear her story of victory, her story of success, her story of hard work, her story of grit, and her story of believing in her own in her dreams to become who she is today. I believe that by us hearing these stories, we're somehow reminded of the greatness that is in us. We're reminded of the limitless potential that is in us. We are really picked up from our own, our own circumstances to believe that we can actually do and be more. Even if it means that by you watching this show, you go back to the office the next day and you're showing up different and you're enjoying your job and you're giving excellent service and you're doing things quicker and you're being more efficient and effective, it will mean that this show has made an impact on your life. And so that's why we do it, because we realize that for us to change, even one person changing can have a ripple effect on the rest of the collective, on the rest of the country. And so we are going to keep on bringing you these amazing, inspiring stories of success, of evidence that there is success in Malawi. There are people that are doing great things, and there are people that are really working hard and achieving their goals. So I can't wait for Esther to join me, but otherwise I see you. Thank you for all the people that are on the other side watching this show, and I know that you're going to get value from this show. And if you've got any comments, I would like you to let's make this show interactive. If you've got questions that you'd like me to ask my guest, please do make sure that you write them in the comments below, and I'll be more than happy to ask my guests to address them. Otherwise, we appreciate your being there on the other side. And that said, I am so excited as well to just share with you that it's 8 days to go before the Professional Ladies conference that is happening on the 25th of March. And at this conference, we're talking about really developing a powerful personal brand so that you leave behind an amazing legacy. And we're going to we have an amazing lineup of speakers, and we want you to be part of this event. It's going to be an incredible night. I feel the energy. I see the people. I see the amazing speakers giving the speeches and the women being transformed, and I see that it's going to be an incredible night of change, of transformation, of possibility, of growth, and all the things. So it's the sort of room that you want to be in if you're serious about your personal growth. I can't wait to see you. For all the details, check out the poster that is going to be in the comments. Start make your payment, call your girlfriend and another girlfriend. Let's make this a beautiful ladies' night out where we're going to learn and grow at the same time. Hello, Effie, how are you? Good to see you. Hi, Dixon, I see you. Thank you for all the people that are on the other side. I can't wait for Esna to join us. But otherwise, I hope that you are, you're picking yourself up. I know that we're going through very difficult circumstances right now. We're going through a very difficult time, but it's amazing and heartwarming to see just the people of Malawi rally together and like come out and share with the people that are directly affected by the effects of Cyclone Freddy. And it's amazing to see the human spirit rise up from very difficult circumstances. And also it just reminds us all of the fragility of life, the fact that we don't have to always keep ourselves like from doing all that we want to do, because we're always saying, I'm going to do that, I'm going to start, but we never start. So you realize that, life is fragile. Life is fragile. You don't have forever, so you might as well make the best of it. So joining me shortly, and I was just saying that life is so fragile, and sometimes you think that you've got it all together, all figured out, but it can all change in a blink of an eye. And so you want to stop putting things forward. You want to get a sense of like agency in the way you're showing up in your life, and like stop putting things forward and saying, I'm going to do it when, the time is now. All that we have is right now, right in this moment. So we have to literally take each and every moment as like the best moment to start that project, the best moment to, do that thing that scares us, the best moment for us to say yes to the calling of our soul, for whatever it is that we've been putting off. This is like the time to just start doing it, because you don't want to like regret, you don't want to regret. The time is now. So yeah, welcome to the Nditha Mindset Show. This is episode 18. It's been an incredible journey, and I know that it will continue to be an incredible journey of amazing stories and of like uplifting each other and of growth and all the things. And I can't wait to dive into this show. Right. Yes, so Esther is joining us. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I'll just give you a minute to settle in.
Hi. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Hi. I'll just give you a minute to settle in.
Okay, I hope I'm all good. Can you hear me?
You're all good. You're all good. All set. So welcome Esther to the show. And like I already, I'll just go ahead and just give a quick overview of your amazing journey. She is the head of Treasury and Investment Banking at FDH Bank PLC, and it's an honor and a privilege to have her on the show. So Esther, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for agreeing to do this with us. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Right. Thanks so much, Irene. I am many things,
Yes.
but of course, I am a financial sector professional. So I am currently working with FDH Bank as the head of Treasury and Investment Banking. But I've been working in the financial sector for now 15 years, and I've been working in capital market operations. I've done investments and corporate finance. So that is really what I've done around my professional life. I do have a CFA charter and an MBA, as well as a bachelor's in social science, where I majored in economics. Outside of my work life, I am also a wife to my husband, Jack Suleiman. We've got 3 wonderful kids, Victoria, Joshua, and Gabriella. Apart from that, I'm a Christian, so I do serve in my local church as well, where I also hold a position. But in a nutshell, that is all about me.
So amazing, and it's indeed true that you're a lot of things. And being such a young woman, walk me through your career journey. Just break it down a little bit for us to say that how has that 14-year journey been like for you?
Well, I mean, it's definitely for me been a period of self-discovery. I still look back to myself in 2008 when I had started working, and look at myself now, and I can see the growth that I've been able to achieve over the years. And of course, there's been a lot of people who have played a major role in helping me get to where I am. But I think the most important thing for me when I look back, the stages that I've gone through is really the time when I had just started working, and especially my initial 8 years, because that is what really shaped me. So I think that was the time when I worked with a smaller company. So really joining in at Nico Asset Managers during, should be its second year of operations. There were only 5 members of staff. I think it was a great opportunity for me because it was a small company, so I wasn't just limited to doing what I was meant to be doing. It exposed me to a lot of other things, which then brought me into investments because I actually started off as an economist and research analyst. But I mean, when an organization is that small, they sometimes push you in other areas. And I think also during that time, it was also a time when I had to, get out of my comfort zone because previously I was a very reserved person. I loved to just do my work on my computer, not necessarily have to deal with the outside world. But during that time, I was pushed outside my comfort zone, and then I started to interact with clients, making presentations. And I think that's helped me to become more and more of who I am today. And also the exposure, the people who introduced me to different things, like even the CFA program. I am so grateful to Mary Katandula, who I met in my first year of working, and she told me about CFA, and she really told me this is the course that you need to do. And I really pursued it. During that time, a lot of my friends were doing their masters, and in 2, 3 years time they'd be done with their masters, and I was still doing this CFA program, but I was so committed to it, and I feel like it's something that also offered me a stepping stone to actually proceeding in my career as well. So I think there've been a lot of things that have really pushed me and gotten me to where I am today.
So good, so good. And doing that, the CFA, getting that qualification, the CFA qualification, what kept you going? Like, what would you say was the driving force to just maintain your, your grit and your focus to make sure that you get that, and knowing that it's going to be a stepping stone on your journey to becoming what you are today?
Okay, I think for me, during the time when I had started, I think in Malawi there were only about 4 people who had the qualification.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, if I could get this qualification and looking at how it is recognized not only in Malawi but even internationally, I thought that it would really be something that could push me in my career. And I think I was really privileged because even when I went to Nico Asset Managers, my boss was actually studying for the same qualification. So I think that really, really kept me motivated to do it. And I qualified in 2015. It was a difficult journey, especially balancing out work and studying. Like I mentioned, I was working for a company at that time. It was small, so obviously there was always a lot of work. You work overtime and things like that, but I needed to put in the hours to get this qualification. And I think with the CFA program, you're inspired really when you see what people are able to do outside Malawi. So you're like, okay, if we could get these qualifications locally, we could really push the depth at which, let's say, investment analysis, investment banking is being done locally. So that was really my motivation to say that I want to be one of the few people getting this qualification at the start and using these skills to develop our own market here in Malawi.
So powerful. So powerful. And I'm also just inquisitive to find out that you being at this, like at the helm of the Treasury Department and investment banking at FDH, this is a space where you've got a lot of male leaders. You don't have a lot of women doing it. How are you, like, how do you deal with being in that space, and how is the journey so far?
Well, I would say it is a challenging space, to be very honest.
Yes.
I think regardless, when you're just in financial markets, looking back to when I was in investments, looking when I was in capital markets, and even now, I think you're right to say these are really male-dominated spaces. It is true. But for me, I think, and I love because your show is actually a mindset show. I think for me, my mindset was shaped very early in my career. My first boss told me something, and I held on to that thing up to now. And I feel like it's the one thing that also pushes me. He said, I know that a lot of people say that it's challenging for women to get ahead. But in today's world, to be a woman and to be smart is actually an advantage to you, because everyone out there is talking about, balancing the gender and everything. And while companies are looking to balance that gender, they're not just looking to get any woman to balance the gender. They'll be looking for exceptional women. So if you could target to be exceptional, being a woman will actually be an advantage to you. So very early in my career, I started to look at being a woman not as a thing that is a challenge to me, but an opportunity. So all I did was to really apply hard work, and I really believe in hard work. I remember my growing up, my father would always say to us, and my father was a police officer, by the way. We were seven of us in our family, and so it wasn't always easy. But he would tell us to say that, if you want to create the future that you want, you can do it. If you work hard, get a good education, work very hard, you will always be rewarded for it. And he lived the example for us because he really worked hard. It was not easy for him to send us all to school and make sure that we get a good education. So for me, I think working hard is at the helm of it's very close to my heart. I am one of those people who believe that things just shouldn't be given to us or to me simply because I'm a woman. I must work hard and I must prove that, I can equally do well. So for me, I take every assignment as an opportunity to prove that women can do well. So I get a lot of satisfaction when I do an excellent job, when I deliver something and it's excellent work. So really, I think for me that really pushes me, and that's what helps me overcome the challenges that we face as women. Because I think at the end of the day, I do acknowledge that as women, we do face challenges that are unique to us as women. For example, I'm coming from a space where I have a 2-year-old daughter. So you can imagine that I'm coming in the last 2 years, I've probably had late nights and everything. But when you come to work, your delivery doesn't have to change because you're dealing with late nights at home. So as women, we do face those kind of challenges, but it's about the mindset and how you intentionally decide to show up in the work that you're delivering. I do not believe in compromising. If I'm going to deliver work, I do deliver my best work. And I feel like, also my personal beliefs also help me to be better in everything that I do. I mentioned that I'm a Christian, and I believe that there are a lot of principles in the Bible that we apply to our day-to-day lives. And even just this morning, I was reading something that says that, when whatever you're given to do, do it with your best, give it your best. So that's what I always believe, that if I'm given a task, I do it to my best.
So good. So good.
Yeah.
And that said though, I know that your career, you've had to move, like you say, from Nico Asset, and then you went to the Malawi Stock Exchange, and then now at FTH Bank. Did you ever have moments where maybe a promotion would come and you sit back and go like, am I really going to be able to do this job? Did that ever cross your mind, or it's not something that you've struggled or grappled with?
Moments of self-doubt.
Yes. Do
Well,
they
I
come?
do believe, yes, that is very normal. And as a person, I also do face those moments of self-doubt.
Yes.
And I think that we all need something in our lives that, that pushes us, that anchors us in those moments of doubt. And for me, I think at the moment, I'm very grateful for my husband because, boy, he's got more confidence in me than I do have in myself. So he's really my anchor that pushes me, gives me the affirmation that I need. But in addition to that, I think also, like I mentioned, my belief system, um, as a Christian, abilities that are beyond ourselves. So sometimes I go into a task being not so confident, but saying, you know what, God, I'm going to do my best, you do the rest. And somehow, I have never really, I cannot look back and look at a task that I've failed at. I have not, I have not failed at a task from what I look. There've been mistakes that I've made along the way, obviously, but I've learned from them and they've only made me get better, but nothing detrimental that I can look back at and say I completely failed at this. But moments of self-doubt, they are so normal and they're so natural. But I think you just need to get out there because it shouldn't be something that pulls you back. It should be something that, pushes you to say, let's see how far I can actually get, like if I do attempt this thing that I'm so afraid of, if I manage to do it right, you get so much satisfaction from that. So yes, I do have those moments of self-doubt.
So good. Okay. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I'm inquisitive to find out, being in the banking sector, there's so many women working in the banking sector, but the top is thin. When you're looking at, from where you're sitting, when you're looking at how women behave in the corporate world, is there something that pains you that goes like that? Maybe you go like, I wish people could be more like this as women, that you can point out on this show so that people watching it, they can go like, okay, maybe I do that. Maybe I can change and I can believe in myself better and I can do better.
Well, I think for me, I feel like, for women like me who work in these male-dominated roles, sometimes because of the pressure of having to prove ourselves and get results, sometimes we tend to become tough nuts. So you find that you become a little tough, on people and things like that. And for me, I think what I've now learned along the way and sort of through a path of self-discovery is to say that, you can get ahead, you can push people to do things, but you can still remain soft, and empathetic. Most of us women are naturally like that. And
Yes.
with the journey, sometimes you're pushed to, start to become something you're not, but you can be yourself even in these kind of professions and still manage to get ahead. So I think for me, that's the thing that I can easily point at and look at, because even for me, it's been a challenge. I mean, when I look back, there's someone who told me, when we talk behind your back, we call you the Iron Lady. And I was a bit, I was taken aback. I was like, oh, okay, I think it's starting to turn me. But I think when I was having a mentorship session recently, someone gave me feedback that was the complete opposite of that. And I was like, okay, I think I have intentionally, gone back to becoming myself. So yeah, that's what I can say about some of the things that I would recommend to a woman who is in a space like this.
So interesting. So interesting. And I wonder, what is your leadership style? Because being the head of the department, you're leading men and you're leading, all these people. I mean, how do you handle that? What's your leadership style? And also, how about this element of like people in corporate, women sort of like pull each other down instead of pulling each other up? What would you say to that, or how do you look at it?
Okay, so I'll start with my leadership style.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
it has evolved over time. I'll be very
yes,
honest about that. Like
yes,
before, I always felt like I needed to tell people what to do and how we're going to do it, how we're going to get our results. But now I think I've evolved, and now I'm more a person who says, we are going to come up with a strategy for our department. Let's all discuss, because at the end of the day, we all need to own the strategy. If we all own this strategy, then it means everyone will be accountable and will take the necessary steps to achieve it. So I am no longer imposing something on them. I am sort of like, we're developing this together. And for me, every time one member from my team has a problem, if they come to me, I think at this point, they are very well aware that they don't come to me and just say, there's this problem, what do we do? My expectation now is they come and they say, we have this problem, this is what I'm proposing. It doesn't mean I'll always take their proposition 100%. I will improve it. If it's perfect, I'll say, yeah, run with it. It also helps to boost their confidence. I can
Yes.
also tell them how to improve their proposition or suggest something different altogether. But at the end of the day, I have empowered them to think for themselves because I believe that as I grow, and probably this is leading to your second question, um, I believe in empowering other people. I believe that even the experiences that we go through in life, they're not just for us to face these challenges and come out of them and then be successful and then just sit with them. But it is really for us to make it easier for others to go through the path that we have gone through. Because we have experienced, we have lessons, others can easily draw from those lessons. So I do believe in really empowering others. And that is why even outside of work, I take my own personal initiatives to also empower young people. So I'm very passionate about young people. I believe that, I grew well, in my earlier years, I feel like I didn't have a lot of exposure, and most of my path has been self-discovered along the way. As you progress, you meet new people, you learn new things, then you sort of make certain decisions. And I feel that if we are able to give young people a lot of information now, they can make good decisions for themselves, and they can even progress even much quicker than we have had to progress. So I am very passionate about young people. I actually do have a YouTube channel, Young and Visionary, and I love to talk about different things, including investments, because I do believe that people who are financially empowered can actually do more. They can do more for themselves, they can do more for the society, they can do more to help other people as well. So I am really all about empowering other people.
So good, so good. And I love what you've said in terms of your leadership, your leadership approach. And it's like, it's so nice that you're empowering your team to believe in themselves and to be solution oriented and to not always feel like they have to lean in on you and get your input, like for you to lead all the way. So that's so cool. And talking about the financial advice aspect of things, I want you to touch on investments for young people. Sometimes like you're joining the corporate world, you get a salary, but then you don't really know that, okay, how do I handle the money and all those things? Just the basics. Can you talk to us about money?
Okay, money topic requires a lot of time, so I'll just pinpoint a few things that I think
Yes.
are always important, especially for someone who started off. The most important thing is for you to have a reason to save or invest. Most of the time, people fail at it because they don't really have a reason to save or invest, or they can't pinpoint. They're just thinking, oh, I want to invest, I want to invest. But they don't have that driving force. When you don't have that driving force, and maybe at some point something comes up, you can easily, stop investing. You can easily go tap into that money that you've invested. But when you have a goal that you want to save or invest towards, that will be your driving force. So that's the first thing that you should do. And your goal should really align to something that is valuable to you. So something that is of value to you will keep you on your investment journey. So that's the first thing I always advise. The second thing I always say is that you must have a rough idea of your monthly expenses. Now, I know this is a difficult one because people always say, things are going up every day. It's so difficult to save. And for me, that's one of the things. I feel like I started saving a little late in life because I always felt like I didn't have enough to save, but
Yeah.
that's one of the only thing I regret in my life is that I never started saving earlier or investing earlier.
I know you
And
just
this is
start eating all the money, like you spend all the money.
Yes, and this
Yeah.
is why. I mean,
Okay.
now I look back and I had a friend when I just started working. She used to get a lower salary than me, but she used to invest her money. Every time I would be broke, I would go to her and borrow money. So the one thing that I've come to learn is in any room, you talk to people, you'll find that people have different incomes, but they all manage to get by, right? So if your income went a little lower, you would still manage to get by. And that's the first thing that you need to look at is to say, within my expenses, what is it that I can cut? Because sometimes we try to use up all the money that we have. I don't know if I should put it that way, but there are always some small alternatives that we could put on some of our expense lines that could help us save a little money. I mean, top of rentals, yeah. Sometimes we want to live in the better neighborhoods, maybe a little too early. It doesn't hurt to live in a smaller house or share a house with a friend. I remember that's what I used to do when I just started working. We used to share a house, so your rental is shared. Those are different ways where you can find small savings. And then you start to put your money aside. And then another thing is to make sure that as you're starting, you have at least two bank accounts. Yeah, whether you're having a savings and a current account, whether you have two savings accounts with different banks, it doesn't matter, but have two different accounts so that when you receive your money, you move the money that you intend to invest or save out of that account, and then you work with what is left in that account. And then for your account that you're using to save or invest, make sure you make it so difficult for yourself to even access that money. So meaning you're not going to have a mobile money platform that you can use to access the funds. You don't even have an ATM card. So that if you're really desperate to get the money, then you're going to stand on a long queue in the bank, and maybe it will discourage you from accessing that money. That's the second thing I would recommend. And then from there, then you start to look at investment options that are within your reach. So depending on how much money you have, I started with a savings policy. And the reason I started with a savings policy is because I didn't have the discipline to save. So the savings policy would immediately deduct money from my account. So even if I was not planning to save in that month, the money would go out.
Yeah.
But these days, we even have things like standing order. They were even there then, but that's something that you could even use now and put a standing order in your account and have money moving directly to a certain investment. So there are different investments that will offer even better rates than even the savings policies. So those are just now things that you will need to look at how much risk you're willing to take, and then look at the different investment options, and then look at what aligns to you. I think for a start, that's where I can
Yeah, it's
I can
enough.
talk about. Yeah,
Exactly. No, you've
yeah.
covered all the basics. You've covered all the basics, and sometimes all we have to do is to really just settle with the basics and do the basics right, and you find that you start to make the progress that you need in your financial life. Okay,
Mm.
so good. Thank you guys for watching, for being on the other side. I see you, Catherine. I see you, Chisomo. I see you. I can't see the other name clearly, but we appreciate you being on the other side, and thank you for watching this show. If you've got any questions for Esnat, I want you to type them in the chat box so that I can ask her. Otherwise, I'm enjoying this conversation that we're having right now. And Esnat, I want to also touch on, like, looking back at your journey, what are some of the challenges that you've had to face in your career and that you've literally had to overcome, and how did you overcome them, if there have been any challenges?
If they have been, yeah. Of course, I think that the challenges have been there, but I don't know. I just look back at my journey and I think it's a journey of grace, really, because I
Yes.
don't think I've really faced a challenge that was so humongous. I think I did hit a sort of bump in my journey when I got to a point where I felt like I was not progressing anymore, and I felt like, there was no opportunity for me to progress. So at that point, what I really did was just, to move and get a job elsewhere, and that job was a higher position, and that set me back on the path of growth. But I think aside from that, perhaps also because I have moved from institutions that are in different parts of the same financial sector. So moving from investments, going to capital markets, then coming to treasury and investment banking, there have been aspects of the work itself that were not within my comfort zone. But I think for me, the most important thing and the thing that I always do the most is to make sure that I work on myself. So if I don't have knowledge in a certain area, I will read about it. Like I'll take the personal initiative to read about it and then to apply myself. And then at the end of the day, I still find like we're very flexible beings as people. And I think that's one of the things that amazes me. As long as you have the foundation, and for me, I feel like the education that we get is the most important foundation. So for me, I think my bachelor's degree, having done the CFA program, um, even if I go into a certain area, the areas that I have been in, they're in a way still linked. So it hasn't taken me a lot of time to sort of like, get the hang of things. But I can say that there've been areas that I've gone into that have not been my comfort zone. Yeah.
So good, so good. And I think that thank you for sharing that, because for most people when they reach that zone where they're stuck, it's like sometimes you're like, what do I do? And then you give up and you don't do anything about it, and you start blaming the world and blaming the country and blaming the bosses, and you know what I mean? And you just wallow in that space, whereas you took the initiative to go like, okay, what are other opportunities that I can explore, and even started applying for other jobs. So I think that is something that is really powerful, and it set you up on the journey that you're on right now, being ahead. I'm just so jazzed that you're the head of treasury. I love that.
Well, thank you.
I just love that so much. All right.
Yeah.
All right. That said, as we are drawing closer to the end, what is your vision like when you're looking at ESNA 10 years from now? How does that look like for you?
Oh, wow. 10 years from now. Now you're going to start making me reveal my secrets.
No, you can just tell us surface issues then.
Okay,
Yes.
no, I think just like any other person, I also have dreams and aspirations for myself.
Yes.
And I think for me, when I look long term for myself, I also want to be in a position where I can contribute more to people around me than I'm currently doing. So there are certain things that I would want to do. I think for me, my biggest dream at the end of the day is for one day to also, do my own thing. One day walk into an office that I can say, this is something that I've created, and also be able to employ people. And I must say, one of the things that really inspired me to come and work for FDH is the fact that I was so inspired by this Malawian, Dr. Mpinganjira, who had the vision, the courage, the resilience, to create a huge financial services group like this one. And I mean, when I look around, the bank employs, I mean, the group employs more than 800 people. That is, for me, that is also inspiring. And, I can see even certain culture that we have within the group that is reflective of probably a culture that he brought in. I don't see a lot of companies, for example, in private sector that would, for example, pray before a meeting, or that is so involved in corporate social responsibility, or that has excellence culture that pushes you to work hard, and deliver to the client. And those are all things that really align to values that I have. And for me, that's also inspiring. And I'm like, okay, maybe one day I could also, do my own thing, So, yeah.
So powerful.
Yeah.
So powerful, and it's indeed it's something different that you're working for for a bank that is owned by a Malawian. And just
Yes.
a short story. The other day I was at the airport, way back. I was at the airport, and it was like a flight from Lilongwe to Blantyre, and it was the early flight, right? And I was with my daughter, and she was pretty young, and I had luggage and all these things. And as the charter was coming, I needed to carry things, and I was like with a baby, and I couldn't. And then I saw a man come and get my bags, And he was like, okay, let's go. And I looked up, and it was Mr. Mpinganjira himself. I could not
Wow.
believe it. Whereas, other people were just looking at me. He took a step and helped me out. And I was like, wow, he owns a bank, and he is also a person. He's also human. And I think that is
Exactly.
so powerful. That is so
Yes, yes,
powerful. Yeah, that has
exactly.
lived with me for a long time.
For
Okay,
sure.
good. Okay, I think someday I should bring him on this show.
Probably you should, huh?
You should put in a good word for me. All right.
Yeah.
As we're winding up, I'm interested to find out what is your favorite book, and can you share that with us for those people that want to read?
Okay, I think for me, I'll pick a book that I recently read. So I read this book last year,